avoid fighting anything for as long as possible until at least we find a spear. We can find a spear at the same location as the box thing spawns, or if necessary we can prototype one there at some point later in the game. So now that night is upon us, we should probably look at gathering up some wood. So just chopping trees. You can chop trees fast by pointing the pointer near the top of the tree and clicking as fast as you can. It's a little bit faster than the default chopping. So we'll show you this is default chopping. And this is me doing it's technically an animation cancellation. So you're cancelling the swing animation and just getting the chop over with. 6 wood for now is more than enough. Don't need any more than that. Log suit is awesome. This is one of the best things to find right away. Unfortunately, 13% is not that hot, but... And I'm going to pick up the boards, because boards are pretty expensive to make, and we're going to need one to prototype an alchemy machine anyways while we're on the run out here. So, same thing with the cut stone, but the coat. I typically gather 2 stacks of rock, one in the initial exploration. So it wasn't as necessary because I'd like to spend less time cutting trees, and I'm going to be spending the time mining the rocks anyways to get myself the gold and the stone necessary for the good start. Don't technically need any more flint at all because as soon as I start mining rocks I will have plenty of it, so I'm probably going to stop picking up flint now as well. We have found a walrus camp. This is where Tusk and Sun hunting parties spawn from, and it's very important in the winter. Now that we're into the night, we need a torch, and we're just going to actually continue on exploring. Unfortunately, we do have to stay very close to the edge of the world to be able to see it when you have the torch. So, just going to stay along the edge here. As long as I can see it, and hopefully I don't run into too many spiders along the edge of the world. So using WASD to move and Q and E to rotate the camera as necessary so we can have a good view on the edge. Alright, so rocks like this mean we switched biomes, and I believe we've hit a mosaic biome now. Those rocks on the ground indicate that there's a cave nearby. Usually I try to mark that on the map, but because it's nighttime and I can't see too far, I'm not going to bother trying to fumble around in the dark doing that right now. Usually I would at least get close enough to it so that it shows up on the map, but there's not quite a bit of pig houses there, so that means we're close-ish to a pig village. And because we're in the deciduous forest and near a pig village, that is exactly where the pig king is going to spawn if he's around. So we may actually take a short excursion into there depending on how the edge of the map lends itself to that. So while I'm on the run here, I can also use my mouse to rearrange my inventory and not waste any time, standing around arranging my inventory how I like to have it. So yeah, it's kind of beneficial at this point now to just open up some of this green area that I've come through here and see if we can't find the picking. Oh, I did mark so this kind of rock right in the middle of my screen there now is the kind of rock that leads down to the caves, and it's important to know where those are, so if on your initial exploration you can mark them on your map the way I have here, then you know where you're going when you want to find them. We do have a pig king, so we're just going to also mark this on the map by getting close enough to him, and then we're just going to continue on our merry way back towards the edge of the map. Unfortunately, this pig village didn't seem to have a big food source around it, so Usually you want to also try and collect as much of this loose rock as you can, because it saves you on your mining time. It's a lot faster to just pick up a rock off the ground than it is to mine a rock, or mine one of the big boulders for the rock. Because I can, I'm going to get on this road. It'll make exploration a little bit faster. I know in my mind where the edge was. And here we come to the one place where I do try and collect as much stuff as I can. This is the desert. We want to grab as many of these tumbleweeds as we possibly can. And when our inventory does get full, then we'll prioritize what we found when we get to that point. But tumbleweeds is the absolute most efficient way for getting your grass and your twigs in the early game. And also you can find extremely useful things like gears and some of the trinkets. So Gord's knot and the rubber bung and frazzled wires, which we can trade to the Pig King for gold later. And this is important because it also reduces how much, well, it's an additional way to get gold other than opening up graves, which costs us a fair amount of sanity. And to get those trinkets in the early game is pretty important because we're not going to be getting a whole lot of gold from the initial exploration of the world. Tooth is a little bit more important than the cut reeds, so I'm just going to drop them. I should have eaten the seed and kept the cut reeds, but we're not going to need cut reeds for a little while. They are fairly important, but we don't really need them until springtime-ish, so we're just going to leave those aside for now. If I had a weapon, I would track down this suspicious dirt pile, which leads us to a koalefant, but I don't have a weapon yet, so I'm just going to skip it on that for now. And we're just going to continue mapping the edge of the world, looking for tumbleweeds while we're in the desert. And we did find one gear, which is extremely important to get that one gear so that you can have a fridge when you do find your base and you don't have to fight any of the clockwork beasts. Even though I do have some wood armor, it's very weak wood armor, so I'm very happy to have found those gears. Alright, that's a live mole worm. If I don't find anything more important than it, then I can kill it and it'll be an additional source of food. Just for the early game. When we get into the middle of the game, that moles would be more important to be used for moggles, but we're not into the mid-game yet. It's still very early game, day 2. Butterfly we just eat. These pine cones are probably the least important thing I have on my person, so it'll be the first thing I need to discard. And then after that, probably the houndstooth. Although in the early game it's pretty difficult to get hound's teeth, and I don't like really leaving them behind, but sometimes it's necessary. Alright, so here's some of these clockworks. We're just not going to mess with them just yet. Because A, I don't have a weapon, and B, I have a very weak log suit. And beef loafer is totally unnecessary at the start, and these frazzled wires more important than the pine cones. which we'll eat. And the gnome is important in the fact that you can trade it to the pig king for gold, but among some of the Don't Starve community, it's considered sacred, so we're going to keep it for now. And we'll be looking at dropping one of our items here. We can hold it in our hands, but this stops us from doing much else. I'm going to, it's just turning dark, I'm just going to try and intercept these guys here and make a campfire for the second night, because we can cook some of the weeds, we can cook the meat and the moleworm. We can get those eliminated from our inventory. Which will allow us to carry more things. Toasted seeds are a little bit better than just regular seeds. Usually I just eat them, but because I have the fire up and going, I can cook them and eat them. Carrots give you the same hunger whether raw or cooked, but if I needed some healing, they give 3 healing when cooked and only 1 healing when raw. So for right now, I'm not going to worry. I missed that one. I'm not going to worry about cooking them for right now. Typically I would have at least 1 gold by now, and I would actually throw down a science machine right here, prototype myself a backpack, and try to work towards the alchemy machine. But because I don't have the gold, I'm not going to bother actually doing that. But what we can do is actually, we don't have the gold. I was going to pre-make the science machine, but we can't do that because we don't have the necessary gold.